So today in world politics,
well, it's finally time, my friend. After all this time,
no
ladies
candles, no flowers, dude. Come on, what kind of date is this?
What is this? What if we just did set this up as like a dinner date?
Some dude playing a fucking trumpet in the back or a saxophone.
And then fucking Jeeves comes in, it's like wet towels.
It's that scene from fucking SpongeBob where it's like, so, how long have you two known each other? Some fucking two old lady.
What? What did he say? He said something about your vagina. Oh, that's gone.
All right, so what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Dual Shock in the very first episode of Dual
our
Talk. Not to be confused with Dual Talk TOK. Like, yeah.
Talking as in we're speaking to each other. Via
This
sounds through the mouth.
is episode 1, and we kind of made the unanimous decision to kind of have this be an introductory episode, and it's kind of come full circle because
Yes, sir.
the first bit of content we've ever filmed together was
this?
of a podcast over on my second channel, Crouch Block.
Yeah.
I was just making sure I was recording.
All that for nothing, dude. Hey, we've done that before. The Budokai 2 playthrough, dude. Fuck. It's cursed, dude. I don't think we're allowed to play that game. I think we just have to skip straight to Tenkaichi.
It's crazy because we haven't done this in so long. It's almost a little weird.
I know, because we're so used to sitting next to each other playing a game that it's weird being like, hello.
I get to look romantically in your eyes.
I didn't do my makeup today.
My makeup is running from all the cum.
Honestly, it's been a while since you and I have like caught up. Like we hang out on the balcony and bullshit a little bit here and there, but like you've been editing the fuck out of videos lately. How's that going? How's that treating you?
Been terrible. Let's get
For
some.
real?
Let's get some. No, let's get
Like
some.
genuinely, like honestly, do you feel like a little overwhelmed with all the editing?
It hasn't been.
It's just you and me, man. No one else is listening.
I was looking off into space.
No, I know. I mean, like, there's no camera. I hate my job. I hate my channel.
This shit sucks. No, okay, so it actually hasn't been that bad as of lately, but I wanted to actually backtrack a little bit and get some formalities out of the way. I'm Brad, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'm Cody.
And yeah, this is going to be our introductory episode. You're going to kind of, you may have watched the channel before, but this is kind of an episode of kind of getting to know us, kind of
For sure.
things about,
I guess it's like a little like behind the scenes of what we do, a little bit, maybe.
in a way, I
'Cause we usually have like a game attached to what we're doing, so this is just kind of us bullshitting.
off
Like,
the hip.
yeah.
So I wanted to start off with, I know very well, but who's Cody, man? Like, what are some things that you like? What are some interests that you have? And
Dude, I'm a musician. It's like my big thing, dude. I've been working on a lot of music, but obviously I haven't put out a whole lot, but I think that's just due to like, like being real meticulous and like
I damn
methodical.
near just threw my phone across the room.
Shut the fuck up. Anywho, no, I guess I don't know. Like I'm a musician first and foremost. That's like my number one passion, what I've been working on the most lately. But I haven't been putting out a lot just because I'm still learning this new program I got called Ableton.
Well, for those that don't know, how long have you been playing music? How'd you get started?
I started playing music or having an interest in music through the game Guitar Hero. And so that like really sparked my interest for like rock music and just wanting to learn how to play a guitar. And then on like my 10th birthday, my parents got me my first electric guitar.
Fucking badass.
And I've just been basically playing ever since. Practically self-taught.
From 10 years old, you like strapped a guitar to your back, like smoking a cigarette, like just kicked down the doors like, Mom, Dad, I'm leaving. I'm on my own now.
I'm hitting the road. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. And then I obviously have a huge passion for video games and stuff like that throughout high school, middle school, all that. I've just throughout, you guys have probably seen on our channel of how much we love the games that we play and stuff. And I have a huge attachment to that. And then other than that, I slave away at a fucking warehouse.
And funnily enough, if this is like your guys' actual introductory episode to the channel, we have a bunch of content on the channel and definitely more to talk about just related to the channel in general because to be honest, you guys have been killing it. We really appreciate the support. You guys have been
insane.
Like, I will post a video, it'll get no views, and I'll just think like maybe this one's a dud, whatever, no worries. And then the next day, like it'll get like 100 or 200 views. And yeah, I just want to say thank you guys so much. We don't really expect this or anything, but
Fuck no, dude. I literally remember when we first started the channel and we did like, what was our first playthrough? What was our first video? The Mortal Kombat.
I think it
I remember doing that and going like, we got 8 views. 8 people watched our shit, dude. Like, that's insane to me. I'm like, off the bat, 8 views. I'm like, we're on our way to success, dude. Like, it's only up from here. Like,
we're kind of thugging the shit right now.
so it blows my mind that we even have this many people that watch our shit now. Like, I didn't expect our shit. Like, honestly, I did the channel and I had the idea of the channel just to kind of have an excuse to just hang out and bullshit and play video games. Like, I didn't really expect it to like blow up, you know? I still don't expect it to blow up. Not that it's blown up or anything like that. It's not, but
just the amount of traction we've got to this
dude,
point.
yeah, like that's a lot to me because I wasn't even expecting anything from this channel. Like, I genuinely just enjoyed doing it. You know, it'd be like if I put out music and like it started getting a lot of people listening to it. It's like, that's not why I make music, or that's not why I like do songwriting or anything like that. I just genuinely love making music. That's the passion.
The
you know?
attention is like what I would refer to as like a cool byproduct of like, and especially in this day and age where you can just post whatever, where it's just like a fortunate happenstance that you get some attention on your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, you're well on your way to 1,000.
Hey man, don't.
Hey, no, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Go subscribe. XG_sin.
So, man, there's so many.
How does that feel? How does that feel? Because you've been doing YouTube for a lot longer than I have.
That's a tough one because while it feels unreal in a way that like over 800 people have subscribed to this point and we're on our way to 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, so it's kind of just felt like a grind.
Take me through your channel. I know a little bit more, but for people listening, you didn't start out as a fighting game channel, right? So if you think about where your channel started from, which, I mean, we became friends before you really went down that path of fighting games. That was like, what, 2017, 2018? You might have just started like becoming like a fighting games.
I might have just started.
You were still doing like Let's Plays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
so, God.
from then to where you are now, do you feel like you've kind of like worked your way into a community and like feel ingrained in that community? Do you feel like you're getting more traction now than ever on videos? Like, walk me through that a bit.
Okay, so I'm gonna answer that question, but I'm also gonna go back even further. So yeah, for those of you that don't know, like, link in the description to both of our stuff, but my name on the YouTubes is Sen, and originally my OG name was Psycho Brad 45 because my oldest brother was Psycho Toolman, and my not oldest brother but older than me was Psycho Spray. So I felt the need to adopt the Psycho moniker and went with Psycho Brad for the longest time. And then sometime in high school, I became Ginger Senpai.
Ginger Senpai. That's what I remember, dude. I remember your channel being Ginger Senpai. That's crazy.
And I just thought of it as like, because after I started getting into fighting games, I wanted to enter tournaments. And I'm like, Ginger Senpai is kind of a mouthful.
Yeah,
so I'm going to abbreviate it to G-Sen. So for still Ginger and then Sen for Senpai.
It's just easier now to say Sen.
And everyone just calls me Sen now. Even friends that know me in real life. And it's kind of weird because...
Is it weird?
Sometimes.
Do you feel like a little bit of a disconnect when people call you by that and not your actual name? Like, do you feel like a bit like it's more of like an internet kind of thing? And
yes, especially if I known you personally before you knew I was Sen.
Yeah,
I think it's like, it's a little weird if you call me Sen, or like
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten used to Jason saying.
but see, I didn't meet you through the internet. We met from work.
Absolutely not.
So that's like, it's more of like a natural friendship, I guess you could say. Like,
Which we're gonna get into that as well. But yeah, so I kind of became a fighting game content creator, air quotes around that, around the time Dragon Ball FighterZ came out. But before that, I got my start in 2013 of December when I got my first piece of shit Roxio game capture.
Nice.
And that thing sucked.
Damn. What did it capture at, like fucking negative 200p?
I think it said 720, but it looked more like 480. It used
Okay.
component cables. So I might have had a capture card before that, but it was a real piece of shit.
Yeah.
With like AVI and stuff like that, which I haven't used an AVI cord in I don't know how long. But I was doing what everyone else was doing. And I've been wanting to, like, this makes me sound like an asshole in a way, but I've been wanting to be a YouTuber long before becoming a YouTuber was like the normal thing.
Yeah.
Since like 2010, 2011, 12, like
You just
back
saw
then.
like a couple YouTubers and you're like, that's what I want to do.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And I used to do Call of Duty videos because everyone else did. And as a little, what was I, 2013, I might have been 15, 16, something like that. You know, giving my life experiences at 16 seems a little bit ludicrous. I'm like, dude, what have you actually experienced at 16? It's
In
like,
my day. Just
Listen,
fucking 15 years old.
listen, guys, I held hands with this girl one
Hey,
time.
man, you got 11-year-olds trying to do that shit now. Like, listen, you don't understand. When I was 5,
I was paying taxes with the shit.
so,
my sandcastles were falling apart on the beach, guys. Let me tell you what.
so it kind
Sound
of
like Pinocchio from Shrek there for a second.
I most certainly am.
His underwear.
Most certainly am not.
are you? So I started there and then kind of dipped into Let's Plays. And then, you know, I used to think my personality was like big enough to, I don't know, let me just say commentary is fucking hard. Like, especially doing it solo.
Yeah.
And I've been doing solo commentary for, yeah, like 10 years or something like that.
Which kind of makes it crazy that like our channel flows the way it does, because I'm not a YouTuber. Like, I mean, I guess I technically am now, but I don't feel like a YouTuber. Like, doing the YouTube thing was just a fun kind of way, like I was just saying, for me to like just sit and bullshit and play games with my friend. Like, I still kind of look at it that way still. You know, sometimes like I'll be recording and I forget that we're recording, because legitimately, like, we will have the same conversation with the mics on or off. It does not matter.
You guys literally, like, we're actually serious when we say that, because literally we were just chatting on the balcony last night.
Yeah.
And then he looked at me romantically in my eyes and was like,
Yep.
do you want to play Arkham? And I was just like, yeah, we could record Arkham. And we just kept on talking about what we were talking about anyways. And like,
Yeah.
that's literally been the basis of our friendship. So for me, for those of you that don't know, Cody was technically a friend of a friend situation.
Yep.
And when we first met, we didn't actually talk all that much. It wasn't until you moved and then came back
Right.
that you and I started chatting a lot more. We started working together again, and then just more and more fell romantically in love with each other.
Getting in trouble at work for like talking way too
Oh my
fucking
God.
long
And
about
that-
like Batman.
What I don't know though is what was the definitive thing that made me think that we should start a channel, and also in your mind as well, because I don't know if we had the podcast first on Crouch Block and from that was like, oh, hey, we should start a channel, or if I said we should start a channel, we had the podcast as a testing ground and then moved on to actually make the channel.
Well, I think
I don't remember the series of events.
the way I kind of remember it, or I remember my thinking, like my thought process at the time was that like, okay, yeah, I can bullshit, you can bullshit with a lot of people, but people act different when they're on the mic or on the camera.
God, dude,
like,
you're
some
fucking
people
telling
freeze
me.
up, some people get a little over excited to where it's like they're almost hamming up the personality in a way. So I feel like for me, when I was kind of like, oh, dude, we could do a channel together, was when we started doing those first couple podcasts. Because I went back and listened to it and I was just like,
Still pretty decent.
yeah, like obviously we've gotten better, right? But
Absolutely.
just the idea of like, we were pretty much talking about maybe 2 things and it turned out to be like a 2-hour long podcast.
Yeah, 2-3 hours.
So I was like, dude, if we're just talking about 2 subjects for that long, I was like, we could fucking play any game and talk about anything and make that work, which is, you know, like a lot harder. I think there's a lot of channels out there that try to do that. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are trying to do exactly what we're doing. It's like, me and my bro are just going to fucking make a channel and bullshit. But after like the 50th video,
kind of running on
you
fumes.
yeah. I don't feel like we've ever had that problem ever. Like
No.
every time we record, we have so much footage, you guys, you have no idea. Like that is
Stay
not
tuned.
ever, might not ever see the light of day just because we record so fucking frequently.
And
Like,
some of it's gotten like old, and we just kind of feel to the point where we should like redo it, because one, like, we're better now than we used to
Sure.
be, and our setup's a little bit better, managing like audio levels. We kind of have stuff a little bit more dialed, and just
Yeah.
the way in which we're talking to each other on camera has just gotten dramatically better.
yeah. So let me dial back
By all means.
So when you're talking about how difficult it is to do commentary, kind of like walking us through your channel, would you say that you like that's become easier for you in general to do commentary? Like, is it easier for your brain to just kind of come up with shit to talk about on camera? Because the thing is it's easier for me to bounce off shit off of somebody else. I was telling you this the other night, but once you kind of have that system going, at least for me, it's a lot harder to then translate that to a solo thing. You get what I mean? Because then I'm just like, how long can I sit there and just talk into the air? You know, like I actually have a lot of respect for YouTubers that can just sit there and spit at the camera. I'm like, how do you do you have like notes, like cliff notes on the side that kind of like, how do you do that? And how has that changed?
It's actually changed quite dramatically because the way in which I make content is has changed quite dramatically as well. With fighting game content, a lot of my stuff and a lot of stuff outside of fighting game content is like scripted lately. Of like, at least for the most part, there will either be a topic and I can riff off on that topic, or I will have the whole video scripted.
Okay.
So let's play stuff, I don't really do let's play stuff anymore. I feel as if it's potentially a muscle I haven't stretched in a long time, but then on the odd occasion I'll do a stream and feel okay about it. It's definitely something I was not good at initially.
Yeah.
It's definitely a skill and you can 100% get better at it. I have been more than impressed with how well like you've adapted to everything in the short time that we've been working together.
Yeah, but that's why I kind of give you more credit though, is because that was a muscle that you, like you said, had to exercise to get better. I basically am just doing what we do off camera, just with a camera and mics now. So it's like, that's why I felt like the channel could work to begin with. Like if it honestly was just like a YouTube channel of just me kind of doing it, I don't know if that would last very long. Like I'd get like 6-7 videos deep and be like I'd either get gassed or something would just kind of like hinder me from improving. DualShock doesn't really feel like I have to improve anything. I think it just naturally has improved because we've just done it for so long now. You know,
crazy that we've been going for over a year. It's actually hard to believe.
I know.
I think, and I think that's part of what I'm getting at with fighting game content is you have to tap into something different for like your own personal content. I think why playing games is good enough for us because it's not really about the games, it's about the conversations we're having. I think if it's just one person, it's like really hard. You have to be like extremely interesting all the time, and I think at a point that gets exhausting.
Yeah.
Because we can bounce off of each other, it's like this kind of like, you know, your interest fuels my energy and then like vice versa.
Or like it'll trigger a thought process and you're like, oh, that reminds me of this, but nothing's scripted. It's all off the hip. Everything that we do is off the hip.
At worst, and we don't even really do this, is like we'll choose to take like a topic about something.
Yeah.
But with that said, though, we actually have some content in the future that we plan on doing. You know, one more podcasts, and we have something kind of in the chamber for a Fallout podcast based around the show, and then maybe talking a little bits about the game. And I don't even think it would have to stop there. Like, there's plenty of shows and movies that I would love to talk to you at length about.
Sure. We were talking about potentially this podcast being one of those. We were like having a conversation of like whether or not we just want to like shoot the shit like we are now, or if we wanted to do like a review on a show or something.
This is making me more excited for like the future content because I'm just putting it out there right now. You guys have seen a lot of like primarily our content on the channel has been gaming, but we're not going to be just like held by the confounds of playing a game. Like, we're gonna do more podcast stuff. We're gonna do some vlog stuff. Some like
stretch our legs a little bit. On the channel.
And dude, like we have like a board of ideas that we're actually working on.
I was like, we have a list of shit that we want to do. So let me ask you this. So I want to kind of go back to like your channel's evolution. So I am really interested in that. Would you say that you got more consistency on viewership post pandemic?
Yes.
And when do you think that started? Can you kind of date back to where like, okay, this is when I started really getting like up on my own feet kind of thing?
The timing on this is weird. Right after my last breakup.
Really?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, actually.
So was it when you were still living out there, or when you moved to Reno that you started to get that?
When I moved back with my parents, for like the brief 6 months or whatever that I was with
Were
them.
you uploading more?
Maybe. I might have been. But
So like maybe the algorithm was in favor of more consistency with your uploading.
I think that's also when I geared my content more towards primarily just focusing on fighting games.
Really? Were you kind of all over the place before that?
A bit. I was still kind of doing like the Let's Play thing, and but honestly, like Let's Playing with you is great because either it's a game I've never experienced before, a game you've never experienced before, or a game we both experienced and we can just talk at length about or just bullshit the whole time.
Right.
With games that I play solo, I will still record the footage in case I want to use it for like a retrospective, but I will not do something like commentary. Like I'm more inclined to just drink in the full experience. I didn't care about something like Doom because it was just gameplay to me.
Yeah. Do you think you would do like a retrospective on Doom?
It would be really brief. It would be like, I can tell you everything that I like about Doom in like 10 minutes.
You don't think like there's a whole lot to unpack there? But I want to ask you now about like editing and how that's been for you. Would you say that it's gotten, I mean, obviously you have to juggle our channel and your own channel now.
It's gotten better, in ways. I've found a faster way to edit some of our less edited video, like just cutting out bits of like dead audio. So like to get into that, well, you guys can skip past the editing portion of the video. But if I'm just cutting out like, let's say, because I have 2 tracks of audio, I have mine and yours. Sometimes there will be like my audio will seep into yours, and then I'll just cut out your audio and just leave it be mine.
I think honestly a big thing that'll eliminate that is just getting better mics.
Absolutely.
You know, obviously that's down the road, but
there's a lot of equipment I would love to get for the channel. One definitely being like a camera that we can take for vlogs, lav mics, new mics.
Yeah. Loud mics for sure.
What would be some other stuff? There's plenty of stuff I want to get for the channel.
Yeah.
Like, dude, let me get a soundboard.
$1 billion.
A billion?
We're playing a game just in the middle of a fucking middle of a video, just like
just like the fucking plot heavy moment of a game is like, you have cancer.
boom, 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 boom.
So I have been doing this for a while. Yes, it has been getting easier in ways. Like it's a bit easier to juggle like some of the stuff. It's still with some difficulty, but from the outside looking in. So like you said, you're kind of newer to all this.
Yeah.
Does it feel weird to kind of be taking part in like? I know sometimes you're like, oh man, I forget I have like a channel technically.
Yeah.
I mean, has that been kind of weird to come around to?
It's weird because sometimes I'll watch our videos and be like, I fucking completely forgot what we talked about. So
This
it's
guy's
like,
cooking
I'm like,
right
damn,
now.
like, these guys are cool. Like because I literally forget. I'm like, oh yeah, we talked about that, or oh yeah, I completely forgot about this playthrough altogether. Like we were talking about what we played Cuphead that's still not out. That was months ago.
Who knows? We might even restart for all I know.
So, I mean, like, there's just shit I completely have forgotten about because we've recorded so much shit.
What would you say has been your favorite thing that we've recorded on the channel so far?
I think the Resident Evil playthrough is my favorite. Just because, like, the overall vibe of that and the pacing of that game, there's enough, like, space between the action, so to speak, and the puzzles to where we were basically doing what we're doing now. And the game wasn't fast paced enough to where it like demanded my full attention. And we jumped around like multiple subjects and we had different topics all off the cuff.
I feel like as soon as we moved here is when you and I really started to lock in.
Yeah, for sure.
Of just getting like a better flow. But like at the Resident Evil Let's Play was when we kind of like really hit our stride, even in that.
That was the first playthrough that we did where I legit at multiple times forgot we were recording. Like I just honestly was just sitting there bullshitting, like playing the game. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot we have fucking like mics on. Like,
What
you know,
what is a game that you'd really like to bring to the channel? What's something that you'd be really looking forward to recording?
I think another game that would be cool like that. It would just take a long time for us to get through. Would be something like Tears of the Kingdom, because it's such a big game and it's more of just kind of like fucking around and exploring than really. There's no real like cutscenes. I mean, there are, but you know what I mean? Like it's more just kind of like exploring the world and seeing what it has to offer. That there'd be more room for us to just basically doing what we're doing now.
I agree. I feel like that's a
Plus, you and I, neither one of us have beaten it.
No, that's true. With that, it kind of begs the question of if we should play Breath of the Wild. I don't think it's necessary, but I think it's something we could do as well.
Yeah. You've played through it though, right? So have I. Yeah.
I kind of sped ran that one.
Yeah.
I kind of locked in on like
Straight to Ganon?
a lot of the main quest stuff. I did do some side exploration stuff, but there wasn't.
Did you do like the dungeons?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
So you got like, because the dungeons in that game are like the giant fucking like concrete animal things you have to explore inside or whatever, like the bird one,
Well, you have to go there to
the elephant.
unlock Ganon.
You can run straight to Ganon. It just, when you do all four of those, it weakens his health enough to where it's manageable for you to fight him. But you can just go straight to Ganon and fight him. It will just take you for fucking ever to beat him.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. The more you
Yeah.
know. Do you have any more retro games that you're looking forward to on the channel? What would be like a peak one? Not necessarily retro for us, but I guess.
Well, we just started X-Men Legends, which I don't know when that's going to be put out, but I'm actually really looking forward to that one.
Probably drop that soon.
Yeah.
Probably
You know,
drop-
it's funny. Someone commented, they're like, dude, an Ultimate Alliance playthrough would be, I'm like, we're already on the way there, dude. I'm
By
like,
the way, we're like
10 steps ahead of you.
We're already halfway there.
The Resident Evil Dark Side Chronicles would be cool, like as like because it's like an on-rail shooter.
like fun dick around game.
Yeah, and we got these like attachment things. They're like guns for the Wii remote, so it's like, think of like a traditional like arcade shooter, which would be kind of cool for the channel. Because once again, we're not going to give a shit about the story. Just be like, oh yeah, dude. So anyway, I was talking to this chick, like just fucking shooting shit at the TV.
I'm pretty curious as to how hard that's actually going to be.
I have no idea.
It might be wildly difficult.
Dude, you know what I'm kind of worried about? So we played like Wii Sports like not too long ago, and we tried these loud mics that we got, but they're kind of hit or miss. Sometimes we'll like be a little too loud and the mic doesn't pick up. I fucking hit a hole in one on Wii Sports, and I remember when we watched back on the footage, we were fucking so loud that it was just it's just muted, and I was like, no, dude, like
I think that
that was the craziest shot I've ever done in a fucking game, dude.
if
Like,
literally that is the only thing that cut out, I think the entirety of that footage will be pretty usable. I'll have to like really scrub through that because yeah, I definitely, at worst, let's say the footage isn't usable, I'm still posting that fucking hole in one.
fucking crazy, dude. It's crazy. But we got to get like good loud mics for actual golf too.
100% agree. And
That'd be tight. And like the other video ideas that I won't spoil that we've talked about in Cali.
I either need to dial in whatever the fuck my phone settings are for like filming or just pull the trigger on a new camera.
What are some games that you want to play on the channel?
That, my friend, is a fantastic question.
I'm looking forward to the Tenkaichi 2 because I've never played the story mode for it before. I used to play Tenkaichi with my neighbor back in the day. That's kind of how I got into the Tenkaichi games.
Yeah.
Is when I was a little kid, 12, something like that. I would go over to my neighbor Kevin's house, and he had Budokai Tenkaichi 2. And then when Tenkaichi 3 dropped, he had that as well. And then we used to just play for like hours. And he used to beat my ass. But I'll never forget this one time where he was kind of on his cocky shit. He's like, oh, all right, bro, I'm just going to pick Gogeta Super Saiyan 4. You can pick 5 characters. I'm like, oh?
Damn.
And I was like, all right, bitch. So I fucking
Fucking on, motherfucker.
So I picked a full team of 5 characters, and my first character was Super Vegeta, and I beat him in the 1-on-1.
Really?
I didn't even get to my second character. I didn't tag out or nothing. I'm like,
just fucking, just look at him like,
maybe you need 5 characters, bitch.
what was that?
Ever since then, though, no one that I know personally has been able to contest me in Tenkaichi. Like, no one played those games like me, and even if they did, I fucking cooked them. Like, apparently, as a little 12-year-old, I went through, like, the hyperbolic time chamber training as a kid and just got godlike at Tenkaichi. Which all the more reason I'm looking forward to when Sparking Zero
I
drops.
know, I'm looking forward to that too.
Because, you know, it's a fighting game. It's a Dragon Ball fighting game.
I'm excited for it, and I'm not huge into fighting games, but I'll probably pick it up and like play it on my own.
And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. And the fact that you are looking forward to it as well, because you've become like quite the Dragon Ball fan since you watched Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
And I know you're not like super into fighting games or anything like that. For those of you that don't know, I'm wildly in love with fighting games. But the idea of like me and my homie grinding the shit out of a game, like it's like, oh dude, you want to have like a first to 100 or whatever, is like super like appealing to me.
Yeah.
Like I would love to do that with like Tekken and Street Fighter.
Tekken's another game. We did a video on the channel. Review showing Tekken off. I've actually, when talking about fighting games with people I know at like work or, you know, just my personal life, Tekken's a game that I bring up. I'm like, that new Tekken 8 game slaps. And I'll tell them exactly about that feature of like replaying past fights and stuff. I think that's one of the coolest features to be in a game, period. And I think that other developers should like take notes on that. I think it's really cool. Like Tekken is like the other exception besides this new Dragon Ball game of like, I might pick that up and get like Street Fighter's cool too though. I like Street Fighter a lot too.
I would love for you to pick up either Tekken or Street Fighter, and then just like just having a training partner, like dude, iron sharpens iron. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I might start off better than you for a while, but you know, if I teach you my tricks and stuff and like you know, fundamentals, like you're going to be at my level in no time. And then, you know, you're going to get really good training from me. I'm going to get really good training from you. And it's going to go crazy, fucking competing in events, which I'm actually looking forward to competing in a local for Tekken as well.
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck were we talking about? I just went on.
No, but I don't know.
For fighting games.
Just spitting, dude. I actually want to ask you something though. So obviously we talked a little bit about the fact that I am a musician and I do music and stuff like that. But you play music as well, and
Not
you
really.
play on your guitar and stuff. And
I
I've
have
been
no idea
hearing
what
you
you're
lately
talking about.
practicing. Do you think that you've been improving on your guitar?
No.
Honestly, do you think so?
Kinda no.
Really? Why?
One of the hardest parts about music is like I mostly spend time on my acoustic, which I love my acoustic to death. Playing and singing at the same time is so incredibly hard. Either I sacrifice part of my ability on the guitar or sacrifice part of my lack of ability in singing.
Yeah.
And I kind of get like one being a lesser half than the other.
Do you feel like you're hitting a wall?
I don't know.
Like, do you feel like it's like there's something stopping you from getting better? Where you're like, I just can't get over this hurdle, or this thing is stopping me from doing this thing, or what do you think it is that like, because do you feel like you just are like same skill wise and that you haven't progressed beyond that?
Within varying capacities, yes. I can like when it comes, if I'm just playing guitar, I can play guitar pretty okay.
Yeah.
But the thing I've noticed the most is I have a lot of holes in my singing fundamentals of like, you know, just an example, like a really hard thing for me to do is hold a note with the vowel E.
E's are the toughest. Tough. And I'm telling you I'm not like some vocal coach, but from what I know about vocals and doing vocal takes and stuff, that's one of the hardest vowels. Some people will even change like an E to an A. Yeah, to kind of like, they'll kind of like change it a little bit to where it's almost like an accent just to make it easier to hit that note. I do it from time to time because E's are really hard to hit. But I wouldn't say you're bad at either one. So that's why I'm kind of asking like, do you feel like it's a wall of like bridging the gap of the two to get them to work together? That's tough for you, where it's like you almost feel like if you focus too much on one that you lack in the other, because I have that problem from time to time where sometimes I'll be so focused when I'm playing a cover or when I'm singing on top of a guitar. I'll be thinking so much about the fact of like, okay, I got to make sure that I sing this part exactly like this. And that's on my head, right? But then when my guitar playing kind of lacks a little bit, like a little more aggressive on the strumming, or not so like I'm not finessing properly with the guitar because I'm thinking too much about the singing. So it's like almost like it's like, it's really hard for me to like hybrid the two because I got to kind of put as much emphasis on the guitar playing as the vocal part, but I can't sacrifice, you know what I mean? Because you're doing two things at once. So if you're focused too much on one, the other one, at least for me, sacrifices a little bit. Like it's not as good. So like I'm kind of at a point right now where I'm trying to like balance the two.
Sure.
Where it's like I'm not thinking so heavily on the vocals, but I'm not like not thinking about it either to where I'm all over the place. And then same with the guitar playing. Like I'm not thinking too hard on it to where it's all I'm thinking about, and my vocals sound like shit, but I'm also not neglecting how the playing's play. It's tough.
I completely agree. But I think even just by itself, my singing is lacking like a lot of fundamental stuff, like transitioning in voices. Like I'm not that good at. I can do a voice and have it sound okay, but as soon as I go from like a head voice to a falsetto, it kind of starts to fall apart. Or from like a
Now, how often are you practicing that though? Honestly,
I sing a lot, but actually practicing it is pretty sparingly.
Yeah.
Like I'll work on a song for a while. Like I was working on My Curse, and I was like, oh, I want to make this sound kind of like R&B, and transferring into that falsetto was tough. Like I could hit the note in falsetto by itself if I'm just going like there is love.
Yeah, the going from one to the other is just awkward.
A little bit, yeah. So it's pretty rocky. But I mean, you know, it's just one of those things where if I know if I just put a lot of time into it, I can definitely improve. Like I'm a firm believer, just to like let you guys in on my mentality of like, oh, you can get better at anything. Like
I believe that too. I really do.
Like a lot of people, like drawing was a big thing. I used to draw a lot. I still draw sparingly, but everyone's like, ugh, I wish I could draw like that. I'm like, one, not that good of a drawer. Like I draw okay. But two is like, if you just practice, you can get about
I'm terrible at shit like that, but I do agree with you that if I were to sit down and practice, I would get better. I think the thing that people like, it gets kind of like, there's like a false conception around is
you're just talented.
No, like that people that see people like Adele singing or like Freddie Mercury, some of the best singers in the world, right? They just think that they're naturally that good at singing, but they don't see the behind the scenes of like what exercises those vocalists are doing every fucking day to get that good. Like, is there talent there? Sure.
I was going to say,
there's talent there for sure. But to get like some of these crazy ass notes or crazy ass sustain, I mean, they're putting in the work, man. Like they're not just like born singing like that, you know, like genuinely. So I really believe like, cause I've talked to a lot of people where I'm like, just sing over this. And they're like, oh, I'm a terrible singer. I'm like, well, have you actually like honestly tried? Like, have you honestly tried to like sing? Like even on your own by yourself? Like, have you tried singing? Have you tried listening to your own voice and picking out what you like and what you don't like and navigating that and trying to find what works? Because a lot of people don't. Because like I said, it's that false conception that people are like, I'm either born with the talent or I'm not. Do I think some people have a naturally gifted voice over others? Sure.
Absolutely.
So that road for them is going to be easier for them to navigate compared to this person who has a harder time navigating their voice. Can they both get pretty close to each other down that path? Yeah. One just has to put in a little more work than the other. It's just like anything else, you know? So I don't want people to think that you can't sing. You can sing. It just depends on like obviously talent level, but you can still put in the hard work to get your voice to a spot that you did not think you could.
What Cody's trying to say here is even a low-class warrior can surpass an elite with enough training.
Facts. That is what I'm saying.
Bitch. So fucking... no, like, I forgot what I was even going to say. I totally derailed myself more than anything.
I kind of probably derailed it a bit.
No. I was going to talk more on what you were saying. Give me a minute. Hold on.
Vocals. So you don't think you've improved?
No, okay, thank you. So looking back in retrospect, to when I was probably like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, teenage years, whatever. I definitely think I've gotten better since then.
Sure.
And I mean, I could listen to the way I used to sing and be like, oh, yeah, my voice has matured a little bit. I have improved in some aspects. I remember there was this 1 week where I was sick and just totally like before I got sick, I was like, oh, hey, my falsetto's getting like pretty good. And then I got sick and then I just lost it.
I was going to ask you that. Do you feel like there's some days where you're like, I'm fucking on it right now? And then there's some days where I'm like, I'm never singing again. Because I have those days.
Well, weirdly enough, after I got sick, like I felt like I lost it. Like had to recondition my voice. Like it felt like it disappeared. Like where did this go? Where did this skill go? Like
conditioning is a thing. Yeah, for sure.
but it was just so weird for me because like I was actually
You're like, that's it? Like it's a wrap? I can't.
I felt like I had it, and then I got sick, and then freaking after that I was like, oh, okay, I'm done being sick, like let me get back to like my falsetto and like keep working on that. And then it'd be like and then just turn into that, where like before it was like the smooth like like
Right.
even then it's still like rockier than it used to be, like
Or it sounds thinner than it did before. Because what I had happen is like, if I get sick or something, I'll notice like if I'm tired, will I be able to hit certain notes? On some days, it's easier to hit those notes than others. Like I'm just like, damn, like hitting that note doesn't take a lot of diaphragm or a lot of energy to get that note. And then other days I'm like, I am fucking gasping for air right now. Like it sounds super thin. So like I have that problem sometimes where I'm like, sometimes my voice sounds fine.
we just gotta ignore him. I actually don't know. That might be a fallacy. I've never just tried to ignore him.
It's working. I think juggling the two things, I want to emphasize that, of singing and playing guitar is so much more difficult. They can see us still.
Okay, so I wanted to actually, when it came to music, pay you a compliment because you're singing and you're playing. I don't know if you've improved as far as I know, because I mean, as far as I know, you've always been a fairly lovely musician.
Thanks, man.
But you've been sounding quite majestic as of late.
Thanks, man.
And like even when you could
I
either
remember what we were talking about. Continue though.
no, you don't. You could either be jamming or like even just singing in the shower with one of your songs playing. Like he's kind of crushing it right now. And another compliment I wanted to pay you was I think it was related to the channel.
It's not been that important.
I thought of it while I was out there, bro. That's the worst fucking feeling.
Well, thanks, man.
My
really,
fucking Alzheimer's.
You're good. You're good, bro. I really appreciate that. That's really nice of you to say. What I remember what we were talking about though. Feeling like some days you sing better than others. I feel like I have that a lot. And the thing that kind of sucks, I don't know if it sucks, but I feel like as you get older, it's harder. At least I feel like it's harder for me to just fucking belt. You know, when I was like 16, 17, I think I have more control over my voice and how I want it to sound, and just having more control, period, over my voice. But I felt like when I was younger, because I didn't really know too much about singing or anything like that, when I wanted to just fucking go for a note, because of my age, I just went for it, and I had the energy to be able to actually hit it. You know, some days would sound better than others. As I've gotten older, I do feel like my range has like become slowly more and more limited, and it's harder. It's not that I can't hit these notes. It's just some days I can
work up towards it.
Yeah, like almost like it's kind of intimidating in a way. Like if I were to write songs and I'm like, dude, I want to write like a fucking rock song and I want to have this note in there that's like a crazy vocal note, right? It's intimidating to me because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that today, or I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that even a week from now. Like, where is my voice sitting at right now? Like, can I do this? Or am I almost like shooting too far? Like, am I reaching too far? Like my expectations for my own voice, am I setting that too high for myself? Should I start limiting that? Or can I do this? I just need to work up towards it. And I'm kind of having that dilemma when it comes to vocals. Like, because guitar playing, Instrumentation, yeah, you can get better at that, but it's not like a legit
Your
physical limitation.
voice is something that constantly.
Right, and it's always changing and evolving, and a lot of that has to do with how well you're maintaining it too. If you're smoking a lot, you're not going to be able to like, hey, I really think that, or even cardio, like will help improve like sustainability on notes and stuff like that. And I feel like I'm kind of torn on that, where I'm like, I really want to like have a song that's like make a song that I really feel like is pushing my voice beyond its limits. But I also don't want it to sound like I'm fucking dying on the microphone. Like it's a weird like kind of
I think
dilemma
it's
I've got going.
completely possible that, you know, maybe your range has maybe diminished somewhat as
Yeah.
you've gotten older, but
Yeah.
I think just with the amount of practice that you put in, I think what you can do in the range you still have is greater than what you had. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
kind of. Explain it a little bit.
So, you know, let's say you have 3 octaves of notes that you're working with, whereas before when you're 12 years old, you had 5 or 6, whatever. I think the ways in which you navigate those 3 octaves that you still have is much more sophisticated and
Dynamic.
than what you had before.
I totally would agree, because I feel like I could hit the same note 3 different ways. Right? Like I can have a more whispery approach to it, or I can have more just like a speaking approach to it, or I can have more of like I feel like there's enough dynamic range, like you said, within that scale to where it's more control. I just have more control, and like I can emote better with my voice. Like as when I was younger, it was just kind of like the same tone, but all over the place in the scale, which I mean, I guess that's fine depending on the type of music you're making, but it becomes it doesn't become as interesting over time throughout even one song. Like your ear will just get bored of it after a while, because you're like, there's not too much variety here.
This is a little bit of an offshoot question, but so you've been doing the music thing for a while, not just from like a performing perspective, which, you know, you've performed before, you've done like gigs at bars and like shows and stuff like that, which is fucking badass, by the way.
Thanks.
But also you've kind of taken to the way the game has changed in the form of like, you know, people make music content now. Like music is part of that content category, and it kind of always has been, but it's just changed. What has been the biggest thing that you've noticed within the last couple of years that has changed your perspective on maybe not necessarily the music industry? It can be that, or maybe even just learning music, performing music. What's like one or a couple takeaways that you've really kind of opened your eyes to?
I think
if you have to think on it a little while.
No, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I think the thing that's changed with my perspective on like how I view music over the years as a whole is that I think at the core of it, my passion for it is still there, right? Like I still think I have like a really deep passion for music. And I still love music for what it does for people and what it is in general, right? Like just the relatability aspect of it. That won't ever change for me. As far as my outlook as like, can I be successful in this thing? Is there a chance for people like me to just blow up? Yes and no. I think my view of it when I was younger was kind of how everyone else's view of it was.
This could be my big break.
But it was like, if I play enough gigs with my band around local venues, somebody from a record deal or like a fucking, what, I'm drawing a blank, from like a
Producer,
publisher, no, like a label. Someone from a label could show up, see what I'm playing, potentially like what they're hearing, be like, I'll sign you right now. $20,000. We'll go into a studio and we'll make a record, and that could potentially be your big break. I don't think that really happens anymore, sadly.
I think it's a fusion, kind of adding on that. I think you still can do that, and it's possible, but it's more likely that that gig is going to be filmed and then posted, and then that post from that gig will
That's kind of what I was getting at. So I think the way that you could get signed is different now, because you got to remember, like back even 15 years ago, you would still make a pretty good profit off of the songs and albums. That's different today because of streaming services and the internet in general. So even how we consume music is really kind of hurting the artist, but it hurts labels too. Because the label is, I mean, most of the money is being made from like Apple and Spotify. They're the ones that are profiting the most off of your songs, not the label so much anymore. And it's because of the way that you're distributing your music. Back in the day when it was like there's CDs and vinyl, which people still buy vinyl, don't get me wrong. Like people do.
Yeah,
it.
weird resurgence, a cool resurgence, but still weird to me in my eyes.
But just back in the day, as in the 90s, 2000s, the label manufactured all that. They're like, we're going to mass produce the CDs, mass produce the vinyl. So we're going to get a big cut of the profit off that. You don't really see that anymore. So what labels are kind of doing, from my understanding, is that's why you're seeing a lot of people blow up from like TikTok, is because if that gets enough traction, say like you made a song, you post it on TikTok and it gets some traction, labels are like kind of hiding in the comment section. Instead of going out to the bar and listening to new music, they're going on TikTok and listening to it and then offering that person to be like, hey, we know that you got like 15,000 people to listen to this song. You want a record deal? And then all of a sudden it's like, you remember that one chick that made this song from TikTok? Well, now she's on Spotify and has a whole album.
Like on the radio and shit
Right,
like that.
so
freaking
it's just changed. I don't know if it's for the better though, because even though the exposability, the exposure
more
aspect,
potential, I guess.
right, the exposure aspect is better than ever for artists to get potentially blown up, because you have more accessibility to the tools to make your music. I don't need to pay fucking Joe Blow down the street to produce my music. I would like to do that personally, me, because that guy's going to have more knowledge on how to produce than me. But the accessibility and the opportunity is greater today for artists like me, because I can just buy that shit on my computer and turn my bedroom into a studio and make quality sounding songs in my room. That was never a thing before. But with that comes less of a profit, because everyone's trying to do that. So you're noticing in the industry, it's like almost like a bottleneck. Like you're almost like in a chokehold for the artist, where it's a fight between the distributor and the artist of who gets the money. The distributor is making most of the money, but the artist isn't making shit. You're seeing a lot of artists today saying that. They're like, I'm not making fucking anything off of my actual catalog. So they're like, and then fans are in uproar because they're like, how come this fucking ticket is $3,000? And it's you can't like really knock the artist for it, because they're like, look, dude, that's the only way I make my fucking money is from the shows. And even then, you've got people like Ticketmaster, or I shouldn't say people, but like the companies Ticketmaster that are distributing those tickets, they're like, we're going to get 60% of this ticket. So even from that $3,000 that you're going to get from one ticket or whatever for a floor seat, right?
You're only getting 40% of that.
Right.
So my question...
So let me put a bow on that real quick. So kind of going back how I feel about the industry, it's awesome because I find tons of new young artists that are making shit in their room, and it feels like pure art at its purest form. There's no bullshit. There's no guys in suits telling you how to make your music. I think that aspect of it is really cool, because I like that there's the artistic freedom. What I don't like about the industry right now is that those artists aren't making shit, and I want that to change. I think that people should be making music or money off their music a lot more than they are. No, it's kind of a huge answer.
No, that's kind of what I was hoping for and expecting. And I actually have some follow-up questions, like a follow-up on the part where like independent producers are like making their own like passion projects. I feel like that's true, but I also feel like people are also trying to make things that are going to blow up. Like there's
not clout chasing
a bit, but
I think you're seeing that though with channels too. Like if we're kind of going back to our channel, I think that's the real cool thing about our channel is like, if I were to equate it to like an artist making music, I feel like we're like the indie YouTubers, where it's like, we're not really clout chasing. We're kind of just doing our own thing. And if people watch, dude, that's fucking cool, but we're just enjoying being us. We're not, what's up guys, like and subscribe and we'll get, we're not doing this fucking hammy shit.
Hey guys, like and subscribe.
But we're not hamming it up. If anything, we make fun of that, and so I think that's really, but you see clout chasing everywhere.
Absolutely.
Everywhere. You'll see people make fake videos of like, my girlfriend cheated on me, and then they're like, this is totally a skit, or like just to get likes and follows and shit.
So I've seen a lot of, like, as far as music content is concerned. I've seen a lot of sounds like it sounds like this, it sounds like that, where it's just like they're trying to like, oh yeah, my music's like XXX Tentacion, because I mean it's fine to be inspired by stuff like that, but before I get on that tangent, I did want to ask you because you spoke on like the accessibility, but when you first started playing music, you kind of spoke on like gearing your music towards like a band. But now you've kind of gone the avenue of being a bit more independent with your production of like, oh, hey, I'm trying to do everything a bit more on my own. Like you have your DAW, you like are working with getting an electric drum kit. You're working on, filling out your musical repertoire.
Sure.
Do you still have a passion towards like a band, or is it more geared towards solo, independently produced?
I would say it's 60-40. So I would say 60% more towards being independent than working with the band. But I got to still give credit where credit's due when playing with the band. The camaraderie and the collaborativeness of working with another artist or working with another person in a band or other people is really fucking cool. And I'm saying that from experience. I was in a band when I was 17 years old. I was in like a metal band. Like you'd brought up, I played shows with them, and we'd play here in Reno and we played in Sacramento. I played bass for them. And it was so fucking cool. Like just like being in a room and just being like, hey man, I got an idea. And you start playing that. And then kind of like what we do for our channel, where you just bounce off that. It's like, let me see if I can come up with, and then once you get like a song flowing and you just kind of all look at each other like this is something, that's really cool. You don't really get that when you're by yourself because you're just solely reliant on what you like and what you think. So if you're coming up with something, you're cooking, you're kind of just like celebrating by yourself on that.
I feel even just you jamming solo, like you'll come up with something and then you'll kind of get like a groove doing. I think you do a pretty good job by yourself to like, you'll just like, oh, I'm going to throw out something. You'll make like a progression or something, and then you'll start like grooving and like adding layers onto it. Like I feel like you do a pretty good job there, but I can understand that like it's a difference of perspective what someone else might add on to what you're laying down.
Yeah. I think the biggest flaw of being in a band is the ego. Hate to say it, but like ego really does get in the way.
Ego is an interesting word.
It's just because like once you get to a point where it's like, no, I think the fucking song should go this way, or no, oh, I think it should go this way, and then you end up butting heads the whole time, and then you lose sight of the whole reason why you were in a band to begin with. You're supposed to be a fucking team, but then once your ego gets in the way, it's more like I'm steering this, and it's like, well, we're a band. We all should be having like a hand on the reins. Like it's not just you. The benefit of being by yourself is it's just you. You don't have to fucking argue with anybody. If anything, you're your own worst enemy.
Your inner demons, mostly.
Pretty much, like it's your own worst enemy, and so that's why I think I'm gearing towards more like I would rather just do this shit by myself. Is because from experiences of trying to form bands,
it's rough.
It's really rough to get people to be on time. Be like, hey man, like, are you off this weekend? I'm off this weekend. You want to get together and jam? Like
it's different when you're 17 than when you're 24, have bills to worry about, or 24. We're 20,
almost 27.
Yeah, well, I am 27, so
I'm almost 27.
I got one foot in the grave, buddy.
I'm there with you, dude.
So it's funny that you like said ego, because ego's a word I've been having to like think of a lot lately, and I'm doing my thing where I talk about fighting games. Ego for someone like me is actually important. For the confines of like conflicting musical opinions, I can see how that'd be absolutely a pain in the ass. But for something like a competitive environment, like ego is one of the best things that you can have in a way,
100%.
because it's essentially your will to keep improving.
The thing about ego,
it's a funny thing.
It really is, because it really is like a silver lining thing. You have to find the silver lining of ego, because without ego, you're not getting shit done. If you have no ego, you're going to have no self-love or anything for yourself, or enough, belief in yourself to get the things done that you want to get done, right? If you have no ego. If you have too much of it, then you're not willing to listen to criticism or, see your own flaws.
You're stagnant.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like you really have to find like a silver lining of it, where it's like, I'm not going to let people tell me I can't fucking do this, which I think everyone should have that level of ego.
Absolutely.
But I'm also open-minded enough to know where I need to improve and make improvements. Because if you like, it's not saying that you're like bad or this or bad at that. It's just looking at yourself from a bird's eye view pretty much and being like, where am I stuck? And anything that you do in life, whether it be, you know, the fighting games or making music or whatever it is, where is it that like I have hangups and I need to improve?
The reason
Some people have too much of an ego to be open-minded enough to see that and be like, no, I'm perfect at everything that I do, which I relate to that in many ways, but I'm also like I'm just going to stay in this corner forever unless I open my mind up to be like, how do I navigate this in a different way?
The reason I brought that up in the first place was because I had a video talking about salt, and like I had a like I was salty at a match because
Sure.
there was I was playing Tekken, and this
Sure.
dude was blatantly a Smurf. Like he
Okay.
had perfect execution, like stuff that's like way
Yeah.
above his level. He had a 30 win streak. I'm just like, okay, this dude's probably smurfing, and I was like, I'll take that, you Smurf bitch. And editor put in the clip, whatever. Give me that. Give me that fucking round, you fucking pussy ass Smurf bitch. And I made a video addressing it as just like, oh, hey, like salt's not that bad a thing. Like it's annoying if you're salty all the time, but salt is a good thing. It depends what comes from the salt. If all you're doing is being salty and just complaining about like why you're losing or whatever, then you're not going to go anywhere. That's when salt is a negative. But if you're salty and then what you choose to do after that is figure out a way to not get beat or figure out a way to improve, I think that's when salt's a positive, because ego comes into the question, where it's just like, you know, I can be better. Like, let me be angry at myself so I improve, so that that doesn't happen to me again.
See, let me
It's a fine line.
no, yeah, but let me make a comparison here real quick that I think is a pretty good one. There's two aspects to when you're doing things like fighting or making music. There's the preparation and then there's the execution. Okay? In preparation is where I think the humility is, and in execution I think is where the ego is. So if I'm preparing and practicing and creating my music, that's where the humility comes in, and I have to make sure that I'm humble enough to make it the best that it can possibly be. In fighting, I got to practice enough to have enough confidence to be the best that I can possibly be. But the moment I have that 1v1, the moment I start the actual fight, that's where the ego comes in the execution. The moment that I'm on stage and I'm performing these songs, that's where the ego comes in. I have to be confident in myself to execute these songs and believe it. Because if I go up there not believing my own music, the people listening are not going to believe it. That's where the ego comes in. Because you have to have the confidence when you're on stage to be like, I worked hard on this album. I worked hard on these songs and this performance that I'm about to do, that I'm going to fucking kill it on stage.
Fuck yeah.
And then that's where it comes in with fighting too, where it's like, I worked fucking hard to be the fighter that I am now. And then when you have that fight, you're like, I'm going to fucking kill it.
I'm gonna fuck you up.
But that's where that's the silver lining. You get what I mean? It's like, you can't not have that ego. You have to have that ego. You have to have that belief in yourself. Like when like I eventually am confident in my music that I'm working on, I'm like, that's it. I'm not touching it. Bow on the top. That's the album. It's out in the world and that's it. I am confident in my project at that point. If I am able to put it out, that is it. And I'm like, I'm proud of that. And you should be proud of that because you put the hard work into it. When you go to perform it, that's when the ego comes out and you're like, I'm going to kill it. Like, and I believe that with fighting too. It's like, does that mean that the audience is going to like your music? No. Sometimes they're going to be like, this album sucks, or like, I'm not really digging this performance, wasn't his best. Sometimes you're going to lose fights.
Absolutely.
And then you just go back to the drawing board. But the drawing board is where the humility is. You get what I mean? You get what I'm saying?
So,
preparation and execution. I think those are the two where it's like you almost have to go back and forth on the like.
That's definitely a good way of looking at it. Like, so on that video, not my response of like, oh, hey, being okay, salty, but the actual video that I fought that gym player that fucked me up. And
Yeah.
yes, they did fuck me out there dramatically better than me. That's not the issue here. It's just that why are you at my rank with like being as good as you are. And it could be a number of things. It could be someone actually smurfing. It could be someone that played a lot of Tekken 7 that just got their hands on Tekken 8. It could be a number of things.
They have familiarity. Yeah.
Now with that, so on that video, someone commented, he's like, oh, hey, like you should watch out for like Jin's electrics. They're plus on block if he does them correctly, which he was. And then they're also high, so you can duck them. Also, you should use Asuka's parry, and you should do this, that, and the third. And I know a lot of people that would just be an asshole, but this person's giving you direct, like,
tips.
Exactly. So what did I do? I went to training mode. I was like, oh, okay, this person's right. Like, I can duck the electric. I could sidestep it. I could.
But that exact thing is why I want to go work with the producer. It's like I have a song that I'm really proud of that I think is really good lyrics, and it's one of my favorite songs that I've written. I want to see it through. I don't want it to just be half baked. You know, I want to actually cook this thing to perfection how I'm envisioning it. If I want that, I need to be basically humble enough to go talk to a real producer and have him be like, no, this is where you're fucking up. You're not putting the compressor right on this guitar. You're doing this wrong. Like, but I'm willing to sit back and be like, all right, tell me point blank, like be honest, brutally honest. Be like, this is where you're fucking up on your production. And this is why your song sounds like shit. Because that's the only way I'm going to fucking learn, man. Like some people like have too fragile of an ego to like take in the criticism. It's like, yeah, no, like I'm for you. Like I'm willing to get my ass beat as long as I learn, right?
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing. Like I'm willing to be told that my production sucks in order for it to get better.
Oh man, I was gonna like loop like pretty far back actually because we talked somewhat extensively about music. I wanted to talk more on. I'll do that thing again. It'll come to me maybe one day.
You don't have really that draw towards music like that though? Like not that passion?
So I look at music more as like a hobby that I just kind of do casually. Sure. I would absolutely love to improve, but there's so many hours into the day and I feel like I'm running into that problem more and more.
That and you're just like, I already have like a really devoted passion. That's kind of how I feel too about other shit where it's like, I'm so devoted to this thing. It's hard to make room for other things to be that devoted to.
That's why I'm just like, people are just like, dude, would you want like this superpower or immortality? I'm like, dude, I'll take immortality. Like, you mean I get all the time in the world to practice all the things that I want to do and learn about all the things I want to learn about? That's why, like, when people are like, oh, dude, fucking retirement's so boring. It's just like, learn how to be occupied, bitch.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That's why I think that like the DualShock channel is such a cool like break from that. Because you and I, like, gauging from what we just talked about, you could tell that we have passions in completely different areas, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
We're pretty, like, separate when it comes to that. Like, I'll be in my room working on my music. You'll be in your room working on your fighting. And, like, a lot of the time. So I think the cool thing about our channel is that this feels like a break from that, where it's like, all right, let's just get together and bullshit and hang out.
Yeah, like, I mean, you guys are literally seeing just us hanging out, and it just happens to be on camera. Like,
yeah. I think that's really why, like, the whole, like, even the amount of people that we have watching our channel is such a shock to us, is because it's like, this is kind of like the B side to what our main passions are. It's like, I do this, but I also do this. You know what I mean? Like, not that I don't have passion for the channel. I do. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have passion for it. I'm just saying that my main passion is music. Your main passion is fighting games.
Absolutely.
So this is just kind of like, I also do this too. Like,
yeah, and I get really excited for like whenever we're booting up a recording session. Like I'm just like, dude, I'm so looking forward to playing this game on the channel. Or dude, like I can't wait to do this. Like there's plenty of stuff in the works that I'm just like enthused about. One of my like some of my favorite things is like, you know, just some of the days we have where we're just going out. It's like, oh, hey, let's go grab like our baseball gloves and let's just go to the park, throw the ball back and forth.
Touch grass, basically.
Fucking when? Never. I have been really impressed with just the kind of level of like, well, I actually want to go back to how this all started, like, because I said that you were kind of like a friend of a friend situation for me, and then we started talking after you came back to the place in which we live.
Right.
Yeah, we started talking more and more, and then like we just found out how much stuff we have in common. But even with the stuff that we have in common, it's in different ways. Like,
Yeah.
the things that we enjoy, like, dude, it all started with Batman, and just like me, like, do you
Right.
know this about the comics? You're like, no, that's fucking cool. And then we talk about like other superhero shit, and then you're like, oh, did you play this game? I'm like, no, I've never.
Right. And we've talked about that though. I think that's really cool that we kind of have similarities, but we also kind of come from different backgrounds enough to where it's like, oh, I never really looked at it that way. Like we almost shed light on a different perspective on the topics that we find interest in, you know?
If we bring a game to a channel, it's either one that I've played that you haven't, you
Right.
have that I haven't,
Right.
and then it's just like, oh, hey, I get to enjoy this game in a new way because I'm sharing with someone.
Right.
I get to see their authentic perspective, and we just get to rip on the game the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking awesome.
But I think that's cool because for people that are listening or watching those gameplay videos or the channel, there's probably some people that haven't played the game and some people that have. So the people that haven't, they're like kind of say it's a game that you've played and I haven't. They're in my position, or people that have played it are more in your position. But either way, you know, they're enjoying it. Either person on the other side or on either side of that, you know.
Okay, this is a random as fuck question. I had this one in the chamber since
for it, dude.
yesterday.
Damn, dude. All right.
Fate of the world. Alien overlords are just like,
Go on. I'm liking it.
I am High Council Globe Club. I've elected you, Cody Polacek, to go to this party, and the fate of the world decides on you going to this party. The vibes are off at the party. Nobody's dancing. Nobody's having a good time. Your goal from those alien overlords, or the planet explodes, is to get people dancing, vibing, having a good time. What song are you throwing on?
Oh, wow.
Since yesterday, my friend. Since yesterday.
The world's going to explode unless you dance. What's the song you're playing, basically,
Yep.
is what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Wow, dude. Wow. I don't know. That's fucking...
I needed to ask that.
The Rude Sandstorm.
Actually.
I don't know, man. That's a loaded question. Holy shit. I don't fucking know. What song would I play? If one person doesn't dance, we're fucked. They're like, I'm not doing it.
You
And
just
we die.
gotta change the vibes of the party. Get people in a good move. Likely get people
Ooh,
dancing.
okay.
Like, what are you
Okay.
looking to turn around the situation?
What's the song that I'm playing? Put it on the speaker, and people are like, "Oh shit!" Like
Exactly.
Wonderwall. No.
That would depress people more.
Yeah,
I feel like
they'd be like, "What?"
killing myself.
No, I'm kidding. I don't fucking know, dude. I don't know.
That's
that's
like
tough.
saying I'm gonna throw on Avril Lavigne.
Do you have an answer?
Probably something along the lines of like "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough" by Michael Jackson,
Ooh.
or "September" by Earth, Wind and Fire.
Okay.
Things of that nature. Maybe some Daft Punk. One more time, maybe.
I think that's my answer right there.
All right. Well, I didn't mean to fish out the answer for you, but I can't.
One more time.
I
No,
can't.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't argue with
Dude,
that.
that was a tough question to answer.
That's why it's so important, dude.
Hey.
The fate of the world. I
Yeah.
mean, do you have? Okay, now for an actual question. Which
Go for it, yeah.
leave it
Go
in the
for it.
comments below. What the fuck would you put on, huh? Huh, pussy? Okay, so actual question. Do you have any side passions that people aren't super familiar with? Because I'm sure if you guys have been a fan of the channel for a while, it's likely that you guys know about Cody's musical background.
Oh, dude, you know, I love sewing.
Anal beads. Just
I have genuinely, I have a like pretty big passion for film.
okay.
Like weirdly enough, like I have like a pretty big passion for film. Something that like kind of crept up. Like I wasn't always that interested in movies. Like I loved movies, but like as I've gotten older, I've been more interested in like how movies are made or the production design or sets or being like, how did they write this film or like what's good writing? As I've gotten older, I've gotten even more and more interested in like the process of film because I like fucking art in general, period. So like just how like what goes in to making film, like the magic of it all is like really intriguing to me. So I would say I have a pretty big passion for film.
Is it something
I've written 3 fucking Star Wars movies.
leave it in-
Legit. Not like full top to bottom, but like an outline plot of 3 Star Wars movies because I do not like the last 3 Star Wars movies.
Leave it in the comments below if you want to see Cody act in all 17 roles of his Star Wars film.
Chapter 1.
Cody goes to kiss himself.
Ray dies. No,
Thank God. God, saving the trilogy with that one. Huh?
but probably film. I really enjoy a lot of.
To what degree? Like analyzing film, would you want to like make a film? Would you like, do you like the idea of like actual camera work, editing? Like,
I think camera work's really enticing to me. Like being like, I like the idea of like envisioning a shot in my head. Like not necessarily being a director because a director's a lot, right? But like being the cameraman, right? The cinematographer.
sure.
Being a cinematographer is enticing to me because I could be like, say like for a Star Wars movie, I can imagine some shots in my head of how I would film those 3 movies. Like I literally have them in my head how they would look. I'd be like, oh, it'd be perfect if it was like the sun was setting and they were both standing like, you know, or like it's like a cliffside, like just fucking one dude with the fucking flute, like using the force. Fucking.
Why do you look like you're struggling? It's like, well, he's a Sith. He's never learned how to meditate before. For those of you that know, you know.
Yeah, so I think cinematography is enticing to me as far as filming goes. I've never done it. But just like even like little things of like how I film my covers and stuff and like getting the angle, I'm like, oh, that looks good. Like I do like looking at things with like a lens kind of perspective, you know. I think that's cool.
Okay.
But other than that, I mean,
would it be something that you'd want to make like a short film? Like, would you want to make like an independent project? Like, where are you kind of sitting on that?
I don't think I'm that heavy into it to where I could full commit to that. But like if there was like, say you wanted to film something because you're more passionate about stuff like that than me. If you wanted someone to film it for you, I'd be all about it. Be like, oh, dude, okay, I already have a couple ideas for shots. Like I would totally be like the camera work I got because I'm interested in that. Like I think that's cool because I there's so many shots in movies. You've heard me say it from films we've watched where I'm just like, oh, dude, that's a great shot, or like, oh, that's like such a like you could shots that you could like pause and just be like, that could be a fucking painting. I love shit like that. I think that's really fucking cool.
Dude, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be all over the place right now.
Dude, go for it. I don't give a fuck.
I remembered what I wanted to give you props on, and I've talked about this before, but you know, I've tried to do the channel thing with other people in the past, and dude, it's fallen flat every time. I have a really big pet peeve of when someone recommends me content on my channel of just like,
what do you mean? Like recommends you content to make?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like, oh, well, if you want to see this, you make it then. Like that's not necessarily my bag. Like, I have no problem with it. And then even more of a pet peeve than that is when I'll agree to it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, we can do this. And then I'm the only one bringing like any energy to the table. I was just like, oh, okay, like, did you just want me to talk the whole time? Like, you didn't want to like talk back to me. So like, let's say, you know, someone wanted to film.
Why do you think people get like that? Just because they're not used to the idea of being in front of a camera or like talking or like they think too much about whoever's listening?
I think it depends on what the activity is. So like, let's say you and I were to do a tennis video and you pitched to me as like, oh, hey, let's do a tennis video together.
Right.
And I was doing like commentating while I was playing and then you were dead quiet. I think it's because people are so focused on trying to perform optimally. And
it's
being
like stage fright.
Being recognized for, wow, they were playing so well. It's just like, I want to make sure I'm showing my most optimal version of myself as opposed to being like, hey, I'll sacrifice a little bit of skill as long as I'm like conversational.
I think the moment you start setting expectations high like that on yourself is when you fall flat. You got to be willing to just whatever you do, be like, there's a risk that I'm either going to fall flat on my fucking face or it's going to turn out good. You never know. And such is life, dude. Like, at least that's how I look at it. Like, I'm like, this could be a great podcast or it could not. Like, either way, I'm just going to fucking do it and enjoy it, you know? Like, but I think people get hung up on like, I have to make sure that everything I say is like the greatest thing ever spoken into existence, you know?
That's one thing. Yeah, like hamming it up for like like forcing conversation or like try to be like funny is also like a different thing too.
Right.
I feel like I get a lot of that. When
Does it annoy you?
yeah, because for the most part, I just want like someone I'm recording with to be authentic.
Because it probably feels more like they're talking to the camera, not to you.
Exactly.
Right? You're like, okay, you're not listening to anything I'm saying, or we're not really talking. You're just saying shit for them to hear. Because then there's a disconnect between you and the host. Because the only reason I say that is because I've tried this shit too in the past. Like I've tried like a YouTube thing with like friends in high school. I don't know if I've ever told you that. Have I told you that?
Maybe, but if you have, it was so long
That's
ago.
why I got this mic originally. 'Cause
Really?
I had a friend of mine that like had mics and stuff like that, and we had like the lights and the table, and we tried doing what we're doing right now. It wasn't even like playing games or anything. It was just like a podcast kind of thing, and it just fell flat because like it was just too much. I think for like the whole setup of everything, we put so much into preparation. By the time the cameras were on, it was like,
What do we talk about? So
thanks for stopping by. Like,
yeah, I've
like,
actually tried to do like a podcast with other people in the past before, and it's always very like topical based around like, you know, oh, like who would you like to see in the upcoming fighting game Project L? And then but I'll be talking to them, and then there'll be like dead space, there'll be dead air. I'm just like, are you gonna say something? Do you want to like interject at all?
right.
Whereas like I feel like so I'm thinking of like
What did you
compatible.
end up doing with that? So like those things, was it for your channel?
I would have to edit the fuck out of it, like really like edit
To
it
make it
down.
work?
Exactly.
You still uploaded it though.
Yes, I might have deleted some just because I've got like I purged a lot of older footage from the channel. I was like, this.
Do you
doesn't-
really? You still do that?
Do what?
Purge shit from your channel?
There's a lot of older stuff where it's just like, this doesn't need to be on here. Who really wants to see a Xenoverse Let's Play from like 5 years ago?
I didn't know you did that. Why do you do that?
Uh,
Just because you like you're just like you're like, oh, I'm so much better now, kind of thing, or
A bit, but also like, oh, dude. Okay, so I told you about this story before, but I got in trouble with YouTube for something I said, and
Okay.
it really wasn't even that bad.
yeah. I
Um,
remember you telling me that. Yeah.
And I'll edit it out, but I think I was reading an article or something, and then it was like, oh, like someone got like a repercussion for like backlash for saying, oh, and then because I said that in my video, it's just like, you need to take down this video. I'm like, are you serious?
Like even though the context was completely different, like
Exactly.
it was just the framing of it.
the like the phrasing. I'm like, dude, I've heard 1,000 times much worse shit on YouTube
Yeah.
that's still up to this day, and you're gonna hit me for that?
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm not gonna risk some of the older stuff just in case. Like I kind of know around the time where I watched my P's.
Right.
So kind of from that though, I was gonna go into like the compatibility
Go for it.
aspect
Yeah.
of like if I'm looking at like a percentage wise, like there's friends that I can converse with quite well, but like they might be at like a 75%. They might be at like an 80, maybe even 85%. But when I'm conversing with you on our show, it's 100%. Like there's not really any dead time, and if there is, it's for like less than seconds.
You're such a good boy.
So yeah, looking at it in like a percentage fashion, like my resonance rate with someone else, yeah, might be around like 60, 70, maybe even 80, 85%. But when I'm doing our show with you, I feel like we're at 100% firing on all cylinders all the time. And I just feel it's like the nature of our conversations. Whereas if I'm conversing with someone else, we might have things that we riff off on at 100%, but not our whole conversation all the time is at 100%.
You kind of feel like you're carrying in a way the conversations.
In ways, but I just know that topics are the most specific thing that I can get someone firing at 100%.
So those people that you worked with in the past, have you riffed with them before, like off camera, and been like, dude, we're just like cooking on conversation? And then that was when you were like, dude, let's do a channel or do a video together?
Yes and no. One of the people that I work the best with, apart from you, is probably my friend Vince. I feel like we riff off each other pretty good in most things,
Oh yeah.
but not 100% all the time like it is with me and you. Like I feel like we do a pretty good job. I feel like we joke around and like have a good time and stuff
Yeah,
like that. And it's really good to make the odd video with each other.
Yeah.
But you know, working with someone else, yeah, the conversation is like a little dry. Like at best, I can talk about like a game that we're playing and like the underlying mechanics of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really like I definitely have always had an appreciation for how much I love you. How like cohesive we are as a duo. And like it just goes to show that it's not necessarily just based on your ability, but how cohesive you are with that other person on top of your ability and on top of their ability.
Yeah.
It's like a multi like cog.
There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot, like when you really think about it. I think that's why when we did those first couple podcasts, I was like, I think this could work, is because I was like, we bounce off each other well enough in conversation.
I mean, we've
even
already
people in comments have
by then we at least had sex like 5 times.
easily. I think more than that.
Dude, your rim was fucking.
I was a different man. No, but I think it's just like kind of hard to come by. Like even my friends, I don't really, like I told you, like when I tried doing this kind of thing with my friends in the past, like I would bounce off them pretty well, like in conversation, you know, I'd hold a conversation pretty well with them, but like it's different when you translate that to camera and mics.
Yeah.
Because people will freeze up. They're like, I have a million things I want to talk about. Then the minute they get on there, they can't seem to get out one fucking word, you know, like, so it is kind of insane that like it just works as well as it does. Like I don't ever feel like nervous or anything like that when I'm recording a video for a DualShock. I don't. I mean, I just kind of go like, let's just do it, and if it turns out shit, it turns out shit, and we'll just be like, we'll redo it again, or you know, like.
Yeah, we haven't really run into that. Like the closest we had was, you know, you guys will maybe eventually get this one day, but our Budokai 2 Let's Play that we were working on. Mm-hmm. Just to be completely transparent with you guys, we started talking about Marvel, and we were just kind of riffing off on Marvel, and then we started recording Budokai. But it's like, okay, do we shift our conversation in Dragon Ball, or do we keep talking about Marvel? Plus, the game was kind of hard to begin with, so it was like really hard to talk. So that was like the most apparent that it was to stumble for us. And then the second time wasn't our fault. The computer fucking shit its pants. And
yeah, we've done enough videos. Like I said, we've done probably more videos that aren't out than are. Like we've done so much footage, right? That's just not out there, and you know, just because, fuck, man, we recorded a lot of shit, especially over the winter, because the winter, we didn't do anything else besides record. So I feel like we just kind of like have a general idea of like, depending on like the game, like what kind of video we're going to make. Like, are we just going to talk mainly about the gameplay, or are we just going to kind of podcast and just not really focus on the game? And I think it was tough for us on the Budokai 2 one, because we're like trying to talk about Dragon Ball, but then we're like, this is fucking hard. Like,
yes,
I'm like, fuck, man, I can't fucking do anything.
I'm like over here laughing to myself.
Yeah.
About like it's like, oh yeah, Liza P has been really good so far. I was just like, I don't even you might have asked me what I've been playing, but I think I've like long since derailed that conversation. Yeah, man, like it's finding your flow is like a really fine line. It's like, oh yeah, do we want to focus more on the actual gameplay? And I feel like there's games that are suited to that, but I think for the most part, our strength is just pure conversation between me and you. Like the game on screen is essentially a non-factor, which I think I was a little kind of shaky about doing a podcast again, because it's like, oh, dude, we haven't done a podcast in so long.
Let me ask you this. So when we started our channel, and be completely 100% honest, were you right away sold on the idea of our channel working on the first video? Or did it take like a certain video coming out to where you're like, okay, I actually think this channel has got something going for it?
To be completely honest, a lot of it was based around your dedication.
Okay.
Because if I was the only one that was putting in the work or wanting to record, then I would have looked to pull the plug, actually.
Okay.
but like we flowed together like
Yeah.
quite well. And you're
Yeah.
just, you would come to me, it's like, hey, when's the next time you want to record? And I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, like he's actually about this, like seeing how serious and committed you were.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm glad that it's not just me.
Then did you like once you like look beyond that and actually started looking at our videos for what they were? Did it take like a video for you to be like, okay, like this is actually clicking in a way that I either was hoping it was going to or didn't anticipate? Because like when we did the Mortal Kombat video, I was like, oh, this is fun. Like we're kind of dicking around, just having fun with this game. But I think honestly for me, when that happened was like the first couple Resident Evil videos. Like not that the other ones were bad before that, but I was just like, dude, there is something going on here that I really dig. Like I was like, this channel's got like a vibe to it that I don't think I've ever seen. I mean, I'm sure there's other YouTube channels out there that are doing exactly what we do and have a similar vibe. I just probably don't watch them, but I remember like looking at those Resident Evil videos that we put up and I was just like, this has a vibe to it that I haven't really seen from any other YouTuber. Like it feels so genuine and raw, like what we're just talking about. Like that's when I kind of knew. I was like, I think like this channel has got like something going for it. Like
I'm gonna say a little bit earlier than that.
okay.
It was when we recorded Arkham Asylum, like when we started, and that was a minute ago. Like that was
Yeah.
one of our first couple of recordings,
That was
actually.
also the first one that we re-recorded. Remember, because we lost the footage to that.
Yeah, that was. No, the audio was fucked up, I think.
Audio was fucked up.
And I mean, the first time we were cooking, and then when we came back, we were still cooking, and then throughout that Let's Play, we continued to cook even more. It helped that we had the topic of Batman to fall upon because you and I are such big Batman fans. And yeah, I mean, that was one of the introductory things we talked about anyways. I mean, dude, like superheroes is such a big passion for both of us because I think they mean a lot to us in like such a significant way. But yeah, I think it was right around that Arkham Asylum time that I'm just like, okay, like we're communicating like ourselves. I can like very clearly see.
We found our footing.
Exactly.
Like a little bit like just burst out the gate, but now we've got a good pace going. Kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say it was about then actually. And then like as each recording session, like each subsequent recording session came along, we would get better and better.
Yeah.
And then I think we found our like full stride. Yeah, probably around that Resident Evil, maybe slightly before. I don't know what would have been.
So I want to say like the middle of that playthrough of that Resident Evil one, I could tell that I forgot we were recording. I could tell because I was like, dude, I don't know. Like I just tell the vibe was just so nonchalant, laid back. It wasn't like talk and make sure there's no dead air. Like we were just literally bullshitting about whatever. Like at one point we're talking about like creepy ass stories and we're talking about alien. Like we jumped so many different topics. I was like, this is fucking cool, man. Like it was such a vibe and it felt like you were in the room.
I'm gonna say right around when we really found our footing was probably the Budokai Let's Play, Budokai 1.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I think Resident Evil made good on that. But I agree, Resident Evil was like a full-on vibe. And like a lot of our night recording sessions are kind of the vibe and is kind of the vibe of the channel. There's stuff that feels more suited towards the day, but a lot of the stuff that we do record is like, oh, nah, I kind of want to save this game for night.
I think that kind of works out for both of us too, because we're both pretty busy people with our own individual lives. So like whenever you're doing during the day and whatever I'm doing during the day, it's like, hey man, are you free tonight? Let's record. Like at the end of the day, when I've done all my shit and you've done all your shit, then that's the window of like, all right, I got time to play some games or I got time to do what I want to do kind of thing, you know?
So I'm going to ask you now more of a basic question. Okay. What have you been playing?
I've been playing Fallout 4. And I've been playing a little bit of Mad Max. Enjoying the shit out of Fallout 4.
Well, funnily enough, with those those games were like invigorated from you from things that came out recently.
Yep. The
Fallout with the series and then
the new Furiosa movie. Yeah. Really good.
Which I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. Dude, we can even go as far as to like discuss the movies on here.
Oh, dude, yeah, we could watch all of them and make a podcast about the one film.
I think we should have a Mad Max theme porn.
Dude, down.
Mad Max and the Dusty Butthole.
The Thunderbomb, dude.
Oh, dude, not the Thunderbomb. Fucking 8 cylinders, fucking running on all cylinders, bro.
Oh shit.
So, obviously, those bits of content have kind of influenced a lot of people. I think less people are going back for Mad Max. Maybe it's possible. I actually don't know. But definitely a heap of people with the release of the Fallout series. And then I've said before many times, but Bethesda being so fucking strategic of like, hey, drop the series. Games are on a discount.
Yeah.
Was good. They're
Yeah.
getting a 60 FPS
Yeah.
patch or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, okay, you guys kind of hit all you know what you're doing here.
Yeah.
What was something that you so before that then, what was something you recently played and finished? What was the last game you finished?
Ooh.
Was it Sushi Roll?
I was gonna say it's either Ghost of Tsushima or Quake 2. As far as like something new I've never played, I think it was either Ghost of Tsushima or Quake 2. Both are great. Both are great for different reasons. Like Quake 2 is like a boomer shooter, just fast paced shooter.
Watermelon. What was the word? That
You having a stroke? What the fuck?
That makes you stop sneezing or whatever.
I don't know.
Pumpkin spice lattes.
I thought you were having a fucking dementia episode.
No, it was just
watermelon. I was like, what the
my inner demons. So
like, and that is where we're gonna end today. You're like macaroni,
the chicken strips.
couch cushions. Like, okay, we're gonna fucking call it there.
Okay, so how I know how you feel about Ghost of Tsushima. For the audience at home, how impactful was that game
Great
on you?
game. Super impactful. I feel like that was one of those games where it's like not only was it just a great game and like great storytelling, I learned a lot about that era of Japan and like the Mongol invasion and stuff. And
Yeah,
like,
you actually got interested in the actual history.
yeah,
of,
so cool. I love it when a game
I agree.
does that. Like the game was so good that it actually got me interested.
Do you
And
think more games need to be based off of history?
I mean, I would like for that. Because I feel like games are at a point now graphically where they look so good and they can look so real that it's like the best way to really immerse yourself in a time period that you can never go back to.
That's
you know,
bars.
like Red Dead Redemption 2 is my favorite video game of all time. And, you know, the great thing about that game is I feel like you get to live in a period of America that just does not exist anymore. And it's like sometimes you'll sit there and play a game like that and be like, I kind of wish it was like that. Because it's more like man with nature, you know? And it's like there's no other fucking bullshit. There's none of this, you know, like there's no like corporations or anything. It's just like open land and you get to see the country for what it is and that time period and like it's really fucking cool. And Ghost of Tsushima is like the same thing. Like it's honestly made me want to go visit the island. Because I'm like, this is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. And it's a pretty good, accurate representation of what the island looks like. And I'm like, if this is what the island fucking looks like, I'm like, I want to go there. Like, beautiful. That game was fucking arguably the prettiest game I've ever played was Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
Really good.
Do you have anything that you're looking forward to that's coming out this year?
Sparking Zero.
The big one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, other than that, I know there's something else and I'm just drawing a blank on it. I have no fucking interest in Black Ops 6. Have you seen that? No interest. Fuck Call of Duty.
I forget if it's this year, but was it Death Stranding 2? Is it
Yeah.
this year or next year?
Dude, you know what I just found out about that? The director for all the Mad Max movies, George Miller, is going to be in that game.
That's badass.
Because Hideo Kojima is a huge fan of Mad Max.
That's fucking dope.
Isn't that fucking cool? Like he like put out a review on Twitter talking about he's like Hideo Kojima did on Twitter. He's like Furiosa's a great fucking film. Like the wackiness of the Mad Max universe is what inspired my wackiness in Metal Gear Solid. I was like, that's fucking awesome. And then I recently found out, like, you know how Guillermo del Toro was in the first Death Stranding? He's a huge director that inspired Hideo Kojima. Like he literally is in the game. So George Miller is literally going to be in Death Stranding 2. I was like, that's
sick.
fucking sick, man. Like I thought that was hell. And I'm a huge fan of both of them. So
I need to crack open Death Stranding 1. I've
I
actually
need to play Metal Gear 4 and 5. Holy
when
shit.
you showed me or when we watched the trailer for Death Stranding 2, I was just like, this
Intrigued.
looks fucking
Bonkers.
And then we played a little bit. You and I were like high as fuck.
Oh yeah. Honestly, kind of the right move.
Might be the way to enjoy
Yeah,
that
'cause
game.
that game is like a fucking trip, dude. It felt like I was watching a tool
I know,
video.
you're
Like,
literally just like,
it's like,
what the fuck?
dude, for real.
No, I'm definitely looking forward to that game, but I'm looking forward to cracking open the first game. But I've said it before, I'm kind of grateful we're kind of getting a year of not
Rest.
that good stuff being released because, dude, cracking open the backlog and like finally being able to get a chance to get to the games that I've been wanting to get to for some time has been so nice, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be this never-ending thing where there's gonna be like a billion games on my plate. Like one of the last ones that I played that was really impactful for me was Evil Within 2.
Yeah.
That game was fucking tits.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, as weird as the first game was, everyone's like, "Oh, number 2 is so good. Number 2 is so good," and they're right. It's
I've given this a lot of thought. I think it's a franchise I want to get into. I've been saying for a while, and I have them downloaded and just have yet to really put the time aside to play them. But with the year kind of being as dead as it is for games, because I know 2025 is going to be a pretty big year, I think. GTA 6 is coming out. I know you're not a huge GTA fan, but I'm definitely going to play it because Rockstar's last game was Red Dead 2. Like, I almost feel obligated to fucking play that game. Plus, it's Grand Theft Auto. Like, it's arguably the biggest game ever. But anyway, I'm getting off track. With the year being the way that it is, I think I'm going to try and play the Dark Souls games. I'm really going to try and give those a shot. I've been meaning to play those. And
I've waited.
I've put a lot of time, well, not a lot, but I mean, almost 20 hours into Elden Ring. Super difficult game for me. Like, in general, it's a difficult game.
You know, I was talking to Troy about Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And
'Cause the DLC's coming out soon, right?
I think so. Which I could riff on Elden Ring for a bit, but I was talking to Troy. He's like, "Oh yeah, I recently got Elden Ring. Like I've been meaning to get to it." And then he texted me or he called me or something like that, and he's like, "Dude, I uninstalled Elden Ring." I'm like, "Wait, what? Why?" He's like, "Oh, dude, I died like 50 fucking times to this fucking dude on the horse, and it's like the first."
I'll make you a deal, deadass, right now. I'll make you a deal. If I start Dark Souls and see it through, the first one, Dark Souls Remaster on the PS5, you play Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh yeah, I'm down. I'm
For real? All right, let's do it.
I might recommend
Play it on the hardest difficulty because I think that's going to be more
That's fine.
like a Dark Souls thing because it's got the combat similar to it.
Do you mind if I get through Liza P first?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to get to Dark Souls like next week. I'm just
Sure.
saying like because I'm going to get through Fallout and stuff like that. But I'm saying that like when I'm like, okay, I'm ready to like play a game I've never played before, you know, like really start a new game. I think the next thing is going to be Dark Souls.
I'm gonna
I
say,
thought it was going to be Sekiro, but I think I'm just going to start at the beginning and
hey, bro,
just do,
we'll start at
or
the-
maybe even Demon Souls.
I was
first.
literally gonna
Do you
say,
think I should do Demon Souls
yes.
or do you think I should do Dark Souls?
Demon
Remastered?
Souls. I love Dark Souls, but like thinking more on
It's a better
the-
introduction.
I think so, but also I think it's a better package of game because that Dark Souls 1 was a rush product nearing the end, and you can see that in the parts of the game. If you're a fan of the game, you know Lost Izalith felt like this kind of copy paste where it's just like, okay, you guys were just trying to fill out the area and like push it for production. There's still a lot of love and care, and the world is extremely charming, and I love that game to death, one of my favorite games of all time. But I think you're going to find Demon Souls potentially even more charming than Dark Souls because I don't think it has those inherent flaws that
The
Dark
remake?
Souls
You
does.
should do the remake?
Yes. I think if you wanted to play the original version just to say you did, it's fine. Like it's not like I played it, I enjoyed it.
Do you think it sacrifices anything, the remake from the original?
I think the visual fidelity is just that much more better, and like the more of a stable frame rate. Like you're playing on superior hardware. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna have a good time.
I heard it. Honestly, I've heard that the Demon Souls remake is still one of the prettiest games out there.
Oh,
that you can
dude,
play.
I mean,
like,
I'm getting chills just honestly weird experience with that game because at the end of that game, and I've said this before, but at the end of that game, I shed a tear and I don't know why. I think
Really?
I think like just the visual set piece and like what everything was building up to and what everything meant.
just going back to the little beginnings to see where it would blossom to, kind of just hit you.
Yeah, so like giving you a brief like bit of the lore because the Souls games are tough to find out the lore. You have to do a little bit of extracurricular work or look up like a YouTube video. But you hear rumors of like King Allant and how like grandiose and how what he's done to the land and like, you know, how powerful or how like I forget if he's a kind guy. I can't really remember. It's been so long since I studied the lore.
Are they connected, Dark Souls and Demon Souls, the lore?
No.
Okay.
Well, some people try to like build that bridge.
It wasn't intentional.
So there's what's called the archstones, and then you have 5 archstones that you have access to, and there's a 6th one that's broken. The thing was like, oh, this is supposed to be DLC or whatever, and just never happened. But everyone's speculating is like, oh, that 6th archstone, World 6-1, is what would take you to the Dark Souls world. So that's where people were trying to draw that bridge, because it was supposed to be like the archstone of the giants or something like that. And it's like, oh, well, you know, like they were just trying to build that bridge.
Sure.
Now with, oh god, I could riff on for like forever. You definitely don't have to play Dark Souls 2. I'd say if you're a big enough fan of
I've heard that one's kind of the miss of the franchise.
It is. It has its own bit of charm, but I think Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1,
Who makes those games? Miyazaki?
Yes. Miyazaki did not make that one.
Right.
Or he wasn't overseeing at least. Like
It's like the Metal Gear Solid games, then there's Metal Gear Survive. We don't talk about Metal Gear Survive.
Pretty much. I played it and beat it just to say that I did. And dude, there's so little I could tell you about that game. Like funnily enough, that was the Dark Souls game that got me into Dark Souls, and then Dark Souls 3 made good on everything. That I was like, okay, this is actually the real one. Like this is what I wanted to play the whole time.
Yeah.
And then retroactively, Bloodborne was really good. Sekiro was really good.
Right.
Elden Ring was a weird one because I liked Elden Ring, I really did, but like I was really hyped for it, and then but I spent so much time in that hype and everyone getting hyped that I got exhausted by the time the game was actually released. So I was just like, Elden Ring, and then everyone's like, dude, Elden Ring is the greatest shit ever. I'm like, is it though? But by the time I was actually done with the game, I found myself missing the game a bit. Whereas like, man, I'm kind of actually sad that the experience is over. I haven't replayed it since. I would love to do that, especially with the DLC. But yeah, I was surprised because I was like, oh man, I can't wait for this game to be over. Like, it felt like at a certain point in the direction of the Souls games, it focused less about the world and how charming it is and more about like, oh, hey, how fucking hard can we make this game? That's not entirely true, but with the advancements in AI and like, the hardware that you're actually using, the game developed naturally. Yeah, I felt like Elden Ring was allegedly turning that same idea up to 11, but yeah, at the end of it, I found myself, I was like, no, that was a good experience. Like I did enjoy it myself, even though parts of it was absolute hell at times. Like the experience in itself was like very breathtaking.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but people sing high praise of it.
Oh yeah, people suck that game's dick to no end.
Yeah,
which
I've heard
I get
great
it.
things about it.
I understand.
Yeah, I mean, from the 20 hours I put into it, I really enjoyed it too. I just think my problem is I have very little experience with those games. I just don't think that's necessarily the first one I should start with.
It can be. You just have to have the resolve and grit to really get through it. But
Yeah.
I would recommend.
I know that kind of goes for all of them. You got to kind of be willing to get your ass kicked here and
Well-
there to get through certain areas, which I'm fine with. But that's kind of also why I've been waiting for those, is because I'm like, I know that's going to be a dedication. That's going to be a time sink.
More on that point of like the advancements in AI, dude. Comparing the difficulty curve of Dark Souls 1 or Demon Souls to Elden Ring, it's night and day, man. Like you are not playing the same difficulty of game.
The Elden Ring's harder.
Oh, dramatically. Like you will be surprised. Like if you go from playing Bloodborne or Elden Ring or Dark Souls 3 to going back to playing Demon Souls or Dark Souls 1, it's like, okay, yeah, this AI is not as
I've heard
sophisticated.
Sekiro is really tough too,
It's tough.
but in a different way.
You
I have played Bloodborne.
You have to play Sekiro like Sekiro. You can't approach Sekiro playing Dark Souls.
Yeah.
It's just not the same. You have to worry about your posture. You have to worry about like perfectly timing your like perfect guard, essentially. Worrying about, I think I said posture, but yeah, it's different. Playing it like a Dark Souls game, you're gonna get your ass beat.
Yeah.
But it was a good experience in itself. It was damn hard as well. But I definitely
I'm looking forward to it.
I found myself enjoying it. I think
I'm looking forward to you playing those Jedi games, because with you being like a Soulsborne fan And I've played through those games. I've played through Fallen Order twice, and I've played through Survivor once. I really enjoyed Survivor. That was one of my favorite games of last year. And hearing all the patch notes that have come out for that game to make the performance better, I think now's the time to like play it for you.
It's installed on my.
But the story is really good. The
Mm.
story is really solid for those, and I'm pretty picky about Star Wars these days. So I mean, it's solid. It's really good. I like both of them a lot, and the gameplay is really good too because it does feel like a hybrid of like a Soulsborne game, but also has like elements of like the parkour aspect of like Uncharted or Assassin's Creed. There's
Yeah.
puzzle solving elements like dungeons in Fallen Order, kind of like Zelda.
Also, it's kind of like Lego Star Wars, you'd say.
Yes, exactly. Like Lego Star- There's even the Yoda like. It's just- but I'm looking forward to you getting to those. I think you'll really like them.
I'm looking forward to it too. That's definitely a game that I've been wanting to crack into, and then with them making the first game free because of PSN was pretty much all the reason I needed to like really crack into it. Yeah, and I like Star Wars enough where like I like that it's its own contained story.
Yeah.
So there's not like a bunch of extra reading that I have to do to enjoy this game. And also I'm hearing the gameplay and the world is like very solid. The characters, like the dialogue, like the
Yeah. And you've recently watched the original 6 Star Wars movies not too long ago.
we still have not gotten to 9.
9 does not exist. In my eyes.
There is no 9.
9 is fucking horrible. But it's almost like more reason for you to like now play those games because Fallen Order picks up like after Revenge of the Sith and before A New Hope. So it's literally between the prequels and the original trilogy in the time period of when the Jedi are all eradicated from Order 66 and Anakin and Palpatine. So kind of slotting into that time period when you play those games, you're going to be a little more familiar because you're like, okay, I get where we're at. Like I get
Sure.
where this is taking place. So it is kind of like wedging its story in between, but I like it because it gives a little bit more backstory on like one of the darkest periods in Star Wars history.
Yeah, that's
which is-
cool. It's filling in a gap in a way. Which for someone else that's new to the game, they might have to do like some extra reading that isn't familiar with the franchise.
Right, or if you haven't watched the movies in a while, you're gonna be like, okay, where is this taking place? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I had a circumstance where I did watch the original 6, but it had been so long, like not since
Yeah.
childhood.
Right.
That I mean, a refresher was like called for. I'm curious as to how I'm gonna feel.
I think you'll like it, but maybe not. I don't know. I
I-
think you'll like it though.
I think so. It's not whether I think I'll like it or not, more so whether I'm going to like it or love it.
Yeah, for
Is-
sure.
is
for
the
sure.
bigger question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
How
How long have we been going for?
Good question. Probably
About 2 hours.
total like 2 hours and 30 minutes.
You want to call it there? As the first podcast? We can talk about more of this shit on the next one. Because we could seriously probably have a 5-hour podcast right now.
I still have tons of energy, so I'm gonna think of if there's anything wrap up that I wanted to ask
any
you.
other concluding notes or any other things you want to talk about on this first one? Do be on the lookout because we are going to do more podcasts, just kind of like us just talking like we are now. But we are going to do a podcast of like Fallout and just more like one subject type podcast because we could honestly talk about one subject for like an hour and a half, especially when it comes to entertainment. So be on the lookout for that because we're going to do that.
Is there anything like non-game related that you would like to see our channel go in the direction of doing more of?
Oh, that's a good question. It's a really good question. I think golfing videos would be really cool because we're both really passionate about that. We could literally do a podcast talking about golf for 3 hours. I'm dead serious. Like when it comes to
We have considered it. So yeah,
we didn't even talk about
how's your
golfing.
short game?
I was gonna say, we haven't talked about. We should say that for another podcast about just purely golf. If you're interested in golf, we'll do one strictly talking about golf. But we fucking love golfing. So golfing videos would be really cool. I think I don't want to spoil it because we had an idea, the California trip video.
I was gonna say that.
I don't want to spoil it though because I think it's a really cool idea. I doing more like vloggy kind of stuff. I guess is the best way to answer that question. I think that would be really cool. And then just getting like we have a bunch of ideas here, like just getting more creative with how we go about doing like a gaming video where it's like, yeah, we're gonna continue doing what we've been doing, which is just like playthroughs of games while we shoot the shit, but getting a little more creative with that too, where it's like if we play a party game, throwing in like a game in between that, you know. I won't spoil it, but like we've just had ideas of like, what if we did this with like a group of friends or something, or like, so I think, you know, getting a little more creative, I guess.
So what I thought you were gonna say.
What do you want? The
Well, what I
direction
thought you were gonna say was music related.
for DualShock?
Yes. Some of the music related things that we've talked about.
I do want to do a podcast that I've had an idea for a long time, which is I would call it Treble Talk, which I am going to do this. I just don't know exactly when. But the idea of it is I would obviously be the host of it, but whoever I'm doing the episode with, I'd let them choose an album. We both listen to the album, and then we go song by song, breaking down each song and like making some notes here and there, exactly how we felt about the song, like the lyrics, the production.
Would that be something you'd want to do on DualShock or more independently?
I would probably rather do it on DualShock, just because it would feel like weirdly out of place just on my channel. Because like I said, I'm not really, especially compared to you, I'm not really like a huge YouTuber thing. Like the YouTube thing is this for me, you know. Do I have my own page for my music? Yeah, and you can go listen to that. Like that's me. But
Description.
but as far as like my YouTube channel, it's just kind of that. Just like covers that I'm like, oh yeah, I'll fucking just do a little acoustic cover of this song. Won't have to do too much on it and just, you know, put it out there. But as far as like the treble talk idea, I think I'd rather have that on this channel if you're cool with that.
Yeah, I'm down. You already know I'm down to.
And then same for you. If you have ideas like podcast ideas that you want to do, that's like where you're the host and you have guests come on it that like don't necessarily involve, I'm cool with that too. Like,
fuck yeah. One thing I would love to do is more like related to the last question I'm going to ask you is board game stuff where it's me and you, but we also get like a friend or two. We play a board game. We set up some mics. We have some drinks. And
so how's your love life? Go fish.
Draw 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, like especially with the coffee table we want to get.
Yeah.
Just having a mic on each side, having some beers on the table, playing like a board game together, and then just filming it while we shoot shit with some friends. I think that'd be fucking badass.
I think that'd be really cool too.
With that said, though, the last question I'm going to ask you is related to that. What is your favorite board game? You probably already know what mine is. It's very basic. Well, I don't know if it's basic, but...
Okay, I think an obvious one for me, I really like Monopoly. It takes a long time, but I really like Monopoly. But I actually really like this board game that's not around anymore, and I think there could be a cool, like, updated version of this game, because back in the 2000s, the only way to play is, like, I'll just say it. So it's called a game called Seen It. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
It's a board game.
About movies, right?
Yeah, and you put a DVD in the DVD player, and then you see scenes from movies, and you have to be like, okay, what's the next line of dialogue, or what scene is this movie from? If you get it right, you can move on.
Plays Django.
Next one. You're like,
Oh,
no,
fuck.
but like the thing about that game is it's really fucking cool. I really like it.
I remember that, yeah.
At first, but if you played it a few times, you eventually see all that it has to offer. You're like, it's like kind of like in that X-Men game we were playing where it gave you trivia questions, but then it eventually
there's only
looped
so
over
many.
again. You're like, all right, I remember what the answer is. That's kind of what scene it is, but you could update that to where it's like continuously updating with new scenes. Like it's just like an app or something you download.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
That'd be something like Snackbox. You ever play that?
No.
It's the phone game or whatever that you
Oh yeah. Everyone
Yeah,
logs in.
exactly.
It's like a party thing. Yeah,
I think
I've
that's
played
what
that.
that's called,
Yeah,
right?
I think so. I know what you're talking about. I've played it.
Okay, yeah.
That one's cool. That one's cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I would like to see something like that resurface.
What's your favorite board game?
You might be able to guess. I mean, it's the one board game I like actually.
Play.
Yeah. You're not. It's not that you're not fond of this board game, but it's not something you got super into. And same with Troy. I'm pretty.
Is it a real board game or is it you play it online?
You could do both.
A board game?
Yeah. Very competitive. Very old.
Chess?
Yes. That's my favorite board game.
Chess is cool.
My favorite.
I guess that's not the first thing that I don't know why that doesn't come to my head first when it comes to
I
board
love
games.
chess.
Chess is cool. I mean,
I'm not an amazing chess player. I actually used to be better, but you know, when you don't practice for so long, sword gets a little dull. But a board game that I would love to, like, let's say do on the channel or just play in general that I love a lot is Risk.
Okay. I don't think I've ever played it.
Really? Are you serious? Dude, Risk is godlike. I think, me and my oldest brother.
pretty much civilization, right? Isn't that pretty much what it is?
I think so. But whenever my oldest brother would come over to my parents' house when I was a teenager, we'd always break out the Risk. We'd have some drinks or whatever. And yeah, we'd play Risk for like hours. You know, him and his wife would get down on it. You know, my other brother, my sister, me, like my niece and nephew, we'd all get down, and it was always like a really good time.
Hell yeah, man.
Side question.
Okay.
What's your favorite card game? Like not like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh or anything like that, but just a regular deck of cards. What's your favorite card game to play?
I remember a game I used to play with my dad all the time. Just a classic game from when I was really little. It's like the first game I think of when I'm like, let's grab a deck of cards and do something. You play War, right?
Yeah, of course.
I love War. It's a great game.
I used to play
It's a
that.
basic concept game, but
Yeah.
it's fun.
I used to play that a lot with my brother, not Tim, but Garrett. And dude, this is another one I would love to have, just like mic'd up, everyone just shooting the shit. Have you ever played the game Bullshit?
Yeah, not in a long time.
Dude, that game is so fun.
I think the last time I played that was out at the lake. I had like I was like camping out there with my family and another one of my friends' families, and they had like a trailer. And I remember we played that game. That was the first time.
Dude, so fun. That's such a
last time,
good
too.
like drinking game just to
Yeah.
like have with your buddies or like your family or whatever. And
Yeah,
dude, that card game is a good.
that'd be
ass
fun.
time.
Yeah. All right, should we end it there?
No, how do you feel about dogs?
What about the state of the economy?
I think Schwarzenegger should run for president.
Oh shit.
Yes, you will be governed by me.
You know, we should do more of these. I actually really enjoyed doing this. Like,
I hated it. It sucked.
weirdly enough, like I don't know, like it's different for us, but like we've done this before, but like not in a long time. But I like really enjoy just doing the podcast. It was like,
Yeah,
cool.
it's different, but it's also like very familiar because this is a lot of what we do, anyways.
Right.
But yeah, no,
And
you're.
you did make a point last night. You're like, I think it's going to go a little better because we don't have the game kind of like we're not focusing on two things at once. Where it's like I'm trying to fucking talk about this like subject, but also play this game. Like the game's not in it, so we just purely just
Let the
think.
autism
Yeah.
take over, dude.
Yes.
Let the old tism.
The old tisms.
No, but I do think that is a perfect place to wrap up our first
Yeah.
recording of Dual Talk. And I really do hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. I'm sorry for my forgetfulness of what I wanted to talk about. Thankfully, I had this guy to cover my ass.
It's all good, dude.
He's always covering my ass. But yeah, I do want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to see more, check out the rest of the channel. We have a lot more content coming to you guys and a lot more ideas coming to you guys apart from doing podcasts and game recordings, obviously, like we talked about. Definitely check out the description for this guy if you want to see some potential music content that he's already produced and music content in the future. And he also has a Twitch that you guys can check out. He doesn't stream all the time, but when he does, it's always a good time.
Oh yeah, you should go check out this guy's stuff too at xg_center, g_sin. All that stuff we were talking about with fighting games and stuff like that. If you have a real interest in that or a passion in that, like him, go check out his channel. He posts a lot of stuff about fighting games on there. And he's got another channel called Crouch Block where he does like retrospectives on games and stuff. Kind of like what we were doing here, talking about like our passions towards, you know, entertainment with film and games. He does all that shit on that channel. So go check that out.
I think that's episode 1, my friend. I love you.
I love you too. Cole?
He just starts talking.
I'm like,
Well,
I'm like, holy shit, delete
so-
everything else. Just let
so about the economy.
treats.
all right. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Later.